So, how's life?
Life is good. Life is
Yeah.
changing very fast. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my
I think a
hell.
lot of people can relate to that.
Oh, for sure. Well, I think like kind of grand life plans have all been expedited within all of this. It's like you figure out what means the most to you and you want to get on it. That's
Yeah.
certainly what we're feeling right now.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you taking time. This is awesome.
Yay.
This has been a little bit in the making, and we go way, way back, which is fun.
I know, I guess so. Well, before you logged on, they showed the picture that you have. I
Yeah.
have a question. Why did you pick number 9? Why is that your favorite number? Because
That's
it's
a
mine
good
too.
question. Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Indoor days. Yes.
Let's see. So in high school, I was 12, and then in college, I was 12. And then when I got to the national team, Tom Hoff was 12, and he wasn't going to give up his number because he was a little older than I was. And so, I was kind of the young punk. And to be honest with you, 9 was probably the number that was available, and I might have even been assigned 9, and then it
You're
became
so
my favorite
cute. You
number.
didn't care, do you?
Not at all.
Yeah, that's so not a normal athlete. That's so
I
good.
know,
I guess
seriously.
you gotta roll with the punches.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I didn't really have a choice because at that time I had like no clout. I wasn't going to be like, well, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to play with my number. But anyways,
Yeah. Well, it looks
it's
good on
cool.
you. It's such a good number.
Thanks. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like it now. I've had a lot of good luck with 9 on my back and
Hell
front.
yeah.
So
Well, it's
yeah,
like completion. It symbolizes a lot of powerful stuff for sure. So I chose it because when my first kind of inkling of the Olympics was with the dream team when I was growing up, I think
yeah.
88, maybe 92, but Jordan was number 9 on the dream
Ah,
team. And I was like,
nice.
oh, and then I saw that Mia Hamm was number 9 and
Oh,
she was like
geez.
kind of the first female athlete that I was like, oh, I want to be like her.
Yeah, she
So
was
good
she was
combo.
badass.
She still is.
So is Jordan too. So it's
Oh, yeah.
yeah. Those are two good ones you picked out.
I did. Thank you.
Yeah.
Part of my
Well,
secret.
I got just a few questions. Get your thoughts on some few things. It's very casual, as you know, and I just want to talk to you about a few things. First things first, which you kind of alluded to already. What are some of the things you've learned about yourself and your family during the pandemic? Now that you guys are. I mean, I know how it is. This has brought us all very closely together because the only people we have to lean on are the ones that are closest to us. So what have you learned during this time with your family?
Well, it's pretty beautiful in that respect,
Yeah.
like it's just I mean, it's just kind of all the BS. There's so much BS in the world, but when there's so much BS in the world and so much out of control, you kind of bind together with those that matter most. And
Right.
our little tribe of 5 plus our dog is awesome. Like what I've gotten confirmed is that we really do like each other. We really fit. Like God did good putting us all together,
Yeah.
because we're the right amount of same and different where we don't like butt heads all the time. Cause we all have big personalities, big opinions.
Oh, sure.
And we all take up space in our ways. So, but we fit, and that is beautiful. Not that it's been easy and pretty all the time. Cause we've certainly got into it. Like my husband and I'm usually gone for, sometimes 6 weeks in a row,
Right.
on the road during summers. And now we're
Yeah.
here but it's been awesome. Like that's been the biggest blessing times a billion.
Yeah.
What I've learned about myself is that I need structure. Like without structure, I literally, even though I still have purpose in my life, I feel so much less purposeful when
Mm.
I have like a structured way to achieve and to keep like measuring progress. That's been really
Hmm.
hard for me. And so I've had to create that. But what a great kind of understanding about myself. And then that my discipline follows structure, and so I thought I was just gnarly on point all the time, discipline wise. And I love that. Like that quote, discipline equals freedom, is so true.
Right.
And that
Yep.
gives me peace of mind. But without the structure, the discipline wanes, and I'm kind of more at the whim and mercy of my emotions and kind of the listlessness. And so
Mm.
understanding that about myself, like I don't want to crack the whip on myself all the time, discipline wise, and now I don't have a tournament till March. So it's like, really, what am I training for? Because I can't be on fire all the time. That's not sustainable. So
Right.
I'm trying to find that right balance of being disciplined, but having fun with it, being curious about other ways to stay in shape and, make healthy habits when I'm not chasing a gold medal right now,
Hmm.
even though I am, but it's just, so this will serve me for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to retire at some point, and I'll have to create structure and find new ways to stay inspired and motivated. And this is a really good head start.
I saw an Instagram post that you just posted, and it talked about how fired up you are for Tokyo, but it said, "This will likely be my last Olympics." And I was like, holy cow, man.
Well, Ryan, if I've learned anything, I'm never going to like stake my flag and say I'm done. Like, that's just, it's not honest to me, and I feel like you can talk to me tomorrow and I could be like, I'm done. But like, if I'm being honest, I need to ride this roller coaster because I don't want to do anything prematurely. I don't want to do anything because I'm supposed to do it. Like, I'm done with living that way, and I think I'm a pleaser by nature. And so when people are like, get the hell out of here, you're 42, I'm 42 tomorrow. You've been to 5 Olympics, going to 6, God willing. That weighs on me. I'm like, gosh, shit, I don't want to shoot. I don't want to be the greedy one. But in all reality, I want to be the one who lives my dreams and who chases my dreams and don't let anyone outside of me or anything outside of me tell me when to stop. So that's kind of where I'm at. But I'm on fire. I just turned a corner maybe 2 weeks ago to get my full fire back for this journey. And what stoked it is like the American spirit in me, because America is in turmoil. And that scares me. And I love our country so much. And I feel like I'm made of the American spirit. And I want to be part of the movement where I represent what's best in America. And I put my hand on my heart because Brooke and I, earned a gold medal for our country. And I want to say, this is who we are, and represent that side of it and bring, the country together in the most amazing sporting event in the world. Like, that fires me up so much.
Yeah. 2 things that strike me as you're saying that. One, the Olympics in some ways is always the great equalizer, especially in beach, because so let's say you go to 6 and then you even go to 7. You said you don't want to be greedy, but the truth of the matter is you're the one that's earned the right to be there. It's not like you're taking something from someone else. It's because you've earned the right to be there, right? And so the greediness factor is really, that's probably your own internal thing, because everybody that is trying to qualify all knows what it takes to even qualify to get there, and then to be able to execute when you're there.
No, we're paying to work, right? You know that.
Oh yeah.
There's nothing guaranteed. But some people look at me like, when I'm kind of feeling sorry for myself or weak, like the people are like, oh, she's so rich, she can afford to go to these tournaments and she has a leg up. And I'm like, look, dude.
Those are the people that don't know beach volleyball.
I know. Exactly. Beach volleyball. I would have more money when I retire. Like, period. Those
are the people that don't know beach volleyball. Because you said it. I've heard you say it before. Look, you and I've known people that have gone to the beach. They're working multiple jobs just to sustain. The beach volleyball lifestyle in general is really that. It's a lifestyle. People are out there playing. Unless you're the top teams, you're probably doing okay. But like most of the people that are out there, they're doing it because they just love playing beach volleyball. They love doing what they're doing. But from a financial standpoint, they're not making millions and millions of dollars. Like, just because people see the AVP on Amazon Prime, they're thinking it's this big thing, right? But they don't really know a lot of the ins and outs of what it truly takes to be a professional volleyball player, particularly a beach volleyball player.
Totally. It's a beautiful story, really. Like, it's a story of love, true love. And the lifestyle is priceless. Like, you just nailed it. That's why people play, because you are afforded this amazing lifestyle, but you have to hustle and you have to live in uncertainty a lot. And most people live paycheck to paycheck.
Right.
And so thank God for the AVP, thank God for the world tour, but we need to, like, the time has come to break through the shackles of the system and create more, because everyone's living in poverty, and the top players internationally are all owned by the federations. No freedom, but they get their bills paid for. The top players here in America are not making their living on prize money. God willing, they have sponsors that supplement their income. And then I know the top athletes do, but no one's getting rich on this. Right. They're rich on life, and they're rich on the pursuit, most important things in the world. But so I don't think I have a greedy bone in me, except for winning, but that's not something that's given. It's something that's earned. Like, you nailed it. So no.
And I think other people that also have the greedy bone for winning are respective of that. So that they look at you and they think, man, like, Kerri's been grinding for so long. Like, that's respectable. That's what I want to do. I'm grinding because I'm trying to win. And I would think that she would be respecting that of me as well, which you do.
100%. Yeah. I feel like perspectives have changed. We're all kind of a product of what we've lived through. And the current generation, like there was a generation of beach volleyball players, at least here in America, where the tour went away for a couple of years,
Right.
And so they have no perspective of how it used to be, like in the glory day where people were just like battling, and like for fifth was a big accomplishment. And,
Right. Yeah.
just and the sacrifices. And now it is a little bit of kind of the entitlement nature. Not that the kids didn't deserve to be where they're at, but it's just, I don't know, it's a perspective shift where instead of being inspired by someone who grinds it out for 20 years, it could be a nuisance, and it's sincere, and that's totally fine. I mean, that's life. People are not, whatever, but it's an interesting vibe,
Yeah.
and that could be my insecurities. I could be projecting 100% because I'm a pleaser. Like I like when people like me. But
Welcome to the club.
Yeah, right. I mean, shit, we're all part of tribes. And so,
Sure.
excuse me. So anyhow, it is what it is. But our sport also has a lot of amazing humans. Like 99.9% of the people are really wonderful humans, indoor and beach. And, so that's why I'm not done yet. This is a very selfish pursuit because I want what I want and I want to become who I need to become to make my dream come true of winning a gold. But also the humans in our sport make it so worthwhile, even the knuckleheads, like, that's fuel for the fire. That's understanding human nature. It's all a big education.
Right. I love that we started there because I think it's such an important conversation for people to hear, especially from someone like you, who's kind of lived it over all these years. But go back with me a little bit. Tell me about you growing up a little bit and how your roots in the sport. Like, when did you find volleyball? When did you know in your heart that this was something that I could really do someday?
Yeah. Well, when I love something, I'm like all in.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with volleyball when I was 10, and it was like literally head over heels. If they were to make a movie, it would be the ultimate love story. And that sounds so cheesy, but it was so weird the way it affected me on minute one. Crazy. It was like this whole new world opened, and it was a world inside myself, but within the structure of this game. Because I grew up in a very sports-centric family. My parents are rad athletes. My grandparents are rad athletes. My cousins, my aunts and uncles. And so I was in that environment playing every single sport. I have a brother who's 11 months older than me. So I always got to play with the guys and be challenged. And I was just an athlete, but when I found volleyball, it was different. I was playing with my girlfriends, who I always fancied myself a guy's girl. I'm kind of uncomfortable around girls usually, but it just allowed me to be free. It gave me a voice, and it gave me dance steps, kind of a choreography, like the bump set spike and the left, right, left, and bow and arrow, like all these things made sense in my brain. And it's such a unique sport, even in indoor volleyball, like you're so solely responsible for yourself. Like you have to be so on point. But you're part of this dance, a greater dance. And I really appreciated that kind of dichotomy, or that merger of those two elements. And beach volleyball to me is next level because there's only two of you, and you have to dance so well together. And, it's such a rad sport. It's incredible. And day one, when I was 10 in fifth grade, loved it.
Huh. That's awesome. So you go on, you go through high school, then you get recruited, you go to Stanford, you're successful at Stanford. Let me just pause there just because it's fresh and new. When did you hear the news about the men's team being canceled at Stanford, and what are your thoughts on that? I'm just because it's in the news now.
Yeah. I found out through Twitter, I'm pretty sure. I don't think anyone was really aware that it was going to go down until it went down, which is kind of the tragedy of all of it, because everyone is so fired up to save it, but the decision's been made. Not that it's like in black and white set in stone, but it kind of is. Like, that the due diligence and the thoughtfulness that Stanford had to go to get to that horrible, hard decision had to be gnarly, so I'm bummed about it. And I'm really hopeful that the alumni can come together and save the programs. I had to talk to Bernard, and he is incredible. And he's just like, look, Kerri, this is where we're at. This is what needs to be done. I talked to Matt Furbringer, who I know who's a dear friend of mine, and they're so fired up to solve the problem. But it's not going to be a piecemeal thing. It's not like, hey, let's save men's volleyball and let's make sure we have a women's, program that we have to save for equity. Like, it has to be all of the 11 programs they dropped. They have to figure out a way to make those sustainable. But Stanford has other problems as well. like every athletic department is struggling in general, unless you're like an Ohio State or have a ginormous football program. But Stanford wants to service the main programs, for lack of a better word, very well, and I know there's a deficit even within their 22 most popular programs. And so kind of the equation of money and endowments and all these things, like Stanford has a 20 something billion dollar endowment, but none of that touches sports, none of it. And no one knows that. And that's what I learned within all of this, is that maybe had the public known that very large endowment is creating a false sense of security for the sports programs, I think people would have, stepped up immediately. But it wasn't led that way, because it's like, no one wants to cause panic. No one wants to seem needy. They just want to be honest in the moment. But I don't know. I'm hopeful. I'm really sad, because that program was so fun when I was an athlete at Stanford. Like I had Lambo, Furby, like so many amazing humans. They were 5th-year seniors when I was a freshman. And it was just the most fun, like glory days ever. And they left. It was kind of sad. But I hung out with the volleyball guys all the time, and they made my experience there so rich. And they're all so smart, and they're such a cool community. And so I'm really hopeful. John Costi is awesome. And I know my heart breaks for him. But I have to believe that we can come together. Like there is a major coming together and awakening around the world, certainly with this situation too. So I believe. Yeah.
It's good, because we're going to need voices like yours to help that, because it's just, it was an unfortunate situation. I too have lots of memories going and playing at Stanford, battling against even Lambo and Furby. Like that was what was that? That would have been my sophomore year, I guess, at BYU. They actually knocked us out of the playoffs. We had a fantastic match against them that first year when they won the national title in 90, whatever the year that was, 97 or something, like 97. Yeah. So it was bummer news. I lend my support wherever I can, of course, because I think it's too bad. And the bottom line is from an Olympic developmental standpoint on the men's side of the game, we can't lose programs like Stanford. We need those programs to help us bring up the next generations of really good players. I mean, you guys have had multiple national players of the years, multiple national championships, All-Americans and Olympians. And we need that funnel. And it's already really small, the funnel for men's volleyball. We can't make it smaller. We got to figure out ways to help it grow.
It's a heavy blow, man. And that program has had a lot of individual success with the athletes. They have that national championship, but they're just men's volleyball obviously is on the rise, and that's beautiful. And so for them to lose such a legacy program is really devastating. But again, I feel like with every kind of devastation, every setback, there has to be an opportunity to problem solve and to come together. And that's when magic happens, because I know Furby's not going to stop. Like they're so engaged. And I know the other programs at Stanford, the men's programs, and other programs are really coming together as well. So, I think this potentially long-term can save the day for the entire program for a while, if they allow, the negotiations and the maneuvering and the pledges become real money in the hand, and they can service a program. So it's so much bigger than sport, as you know.
Totally. So let's take it back to you a little bit. So you play at Stanford, then you decide to kind of move on to the national team. I know you and we competed in 2000 in the Olympics. You played in indoors. When and how did the decision to leave the indoor game happen for you and move full-time into the beach?
Yeah, well, I feel like all life is happening for me. I've grown into that understanding, but I felt at the time when I was switching from beach or indoor to beach, it felt like my life was happening to me in a really aggressive, sad way. When we were in Sydney, I got a false positive on a doping test, on a drug test.
Oh, wow. And I didn't know that.
It was so gnarly, Ryan. 30 minutes maybe before the first match of the Olympic Games, coach pulled me aside, said, "Kerri, you can't play." And I was like, geez. What are you talking about? Like, I literally probably weighed like 140, and they said it was for testosterone. And I was like, this is crazy. No. And they're like, ultimately I didn't play. I think I missed the first two, maybe, I think three, maybe. So I got to play the last match of pool play. But they told me to go home. They said, "We can't help you." They said, "It's a conflict of interest." They said, "We can't afford to take the risk on you." And that broke my heart, Ryan. Like, wow. I was left out to dry. But my mom found a lawyer. She found a chemist. She found all these people to come and save the day. I had midnight meetings with the ombudsman, John Ruger, who saved my career. Like, it was the most surreal experience. I'd be at practice and I had blown out my ankle a month before the Olympics, like 3rd degree gnarly. Mm-hmm. And I worked so hard to come back. And my coaches were like, just tell everyone you're hurt. And I was like, it's just so devastating. Like, you know, like we're all in this together, and yet I have to silo myself and I can't be honest and I can't lean on my people. And so that broke my heart in a billion pieces. And I'm just like, I cannot be one of the herd anymore. I need to have more autonomy in my life. And I don't want to go play overseas. Like, my heart is home. Like, my heart, you know, like leaving home is really hard for me. I'm just built that way. Yeah. And so that was never a prospect that I really wanted to do. And then my parents got to talking to Misty May's parents in Sydney. Misty was playing beach. I was playing indoor.
Right.
And the Mays knew that Misty wanted to shake up. Like, she had been playing with Holly McPeak, 10 years older, you know, and just a different kind of vibe than she wanted. She wanted to grow with somebody in the game. And so our parents got to talking, said we should get the girls together after the Olympics, have a tryout. And that was the start of all of it. So I was finishing up my time at Stanford. I would drive down, you know, after school on Thursday, I'd drive down, live with Misty, train with her. And that was the start of it. But I feel like the universe, God, my soul pushed me into this situation where I was like, what do I want here? Because I avoided playing beach volleyball my entire life. I grew up in a beach town in the Santa Cruz Mountains, never played because I didn't want to look like an idiot, you know? And then I had this happen to me. It broke my heart. I had to reevaluate. And then, you know, in comes Misty May, an opportunity to try out with her. So my path is always unfolding beautifully.
That's great. And, you know, there's only one Kerri Walsh-Jennings, of course, and there's only one Misty May, of course, but I'm curious for a lot of players having that same type of decision period, especially because like when you were making that decision, in my mind, and you can correct me if you think this is wrong, but the women's game indoors was going a little bit through a transformation overseas, meaning there was more money being pumped into the leagues. There were better contracts for the women's players overseas.
100%.
You know, going into those next few quads, I know women that were playing indoor that were overseas playing and making a lot of money, really good money. Mm-hmm. And so I'm curious. I mean, looking back on it now, you're talking about how there was some form of divine intervention in regards to how it played out for you. But I'm curious, as other people, as they're trying to make that decision, and now knowing that there's all these opportunities overseas, I'm assuming that it's difficult.
Well, it's been difficult from day one, but yeah, you're right. That time in the history of volleyball, overseas was the sure smart bet. Like, if you're a top player in the world, go overseas and make your money. I cannot do anything that my heart is not into. And to be honest with you, I don't live further out. I mean, I've been living in quadrennials. Like, once I have my goal for the Olympics, like, my life is kind of planned, but I don't really think that far ahead. And certainly money is not a driver. Like, it's just not. I love wealth. Like, I love abundance. I invite that in my life, but you know, it has to feel good to earn that, you know? And so for me, for the athletes today's age, like, if you want guaranteed money, play indoor. Like, you're going to be broke, period, playing beach volleyball. But that's my job to help support the game and elevate it. That's all of our, you know, hopefully the market picks up. Hopefully, you know, we can create some stars. This next Olympics ideally will help kind of shift us again into the limelight that we can sustain. But no,
also you've got a shorter quad next time around, which could be interesting. You know what I mean? I don't think a lot of people are realizing that, because it's not 4 years now. Now it's 3 years. And so, and also you've got the summer games in 21, then you've got the winter games in 22, and then it's only 2 years again. Yeah. And so I don't know if it's going to be a different feel.
Maybe.
I know. When I read that, I was like, I bet that's why, because it's not a 4-year quad. It's only 3 years. She doesn't have to commit 4 years. She only got.
And the first 2 years of the quad suck. It's like high of the Olympics are over. Like, it's just, you're trudging, you know, and it's, I mean, take that relative.
That's how it is indoor too. Same thing. First 2 years of the quad, it's like first year after the Olympics, there's nothing going on.
No.
The next year, I think, is world champs, which is kind of a big deal, but like, it's not that super big. It's not anything like the Olympics. And so you're absolutely right.
Well, that's why you guys for indoor, you guys have your super leagues and you have international competition where you can like internationals can play together.
Right.
Beach, you have the world tour and you have the domestic tour, and we need the NBA. Like, we need that model where the best can play with each other, you know, and have that NBA experience, ATP experience where you're making your money. Because if we say an Olympic sport, it's just not sustainable. We cannot be relevant once every 4 years. It just keeps us so small. And this is coming from a 5-time Olympian. Like that, when I had that realization when we started 1440, it like broke my heart. I'm like, God, this thing that has made my life is crushing everybody else, because only 4 people go to the Olympics.
Go to the Olympics, that's right.
Like, you know, and there's like
that's why I was saying there's only one Kerri Walsh-Jennings, there's only one Missy May. It's like,
but if we had a
then
tour,
you've got this whole community of volleyball players that are all trying to, but they're never going to be able to experience that. And so I think you're absolutely right.
If we have the tour, like if we have the tour, I would prefer, I mean, this might be convenient now because I've done what I've done and been able to do what I've done, but I would prefer to have a very strong kick-ass tour instead of the Olympics once every 4 years. Because it's just the wealth is spread. Kind
of like the way a lot of the bigger sports are around the Olympics, where they're like, yeah, you know, I'm on top of the tour of the tennis tour. The Olympics is not really that huge of a deal for me because I'm the best in the world at this tour, right? So that would be fantastic.
The Olympics will always be sacred. I mean, look at Federer when he plays in the Olympics, or like Bubba Watson, the golfer. Like the golfers were like, what is this Olympic thing? And they were like, 10 years last time. And they didn't take it seriously because they had millions. But it was special to them, and they'll grow into the specialness of the Olympics. But I really wish our sport was flipped, where the Olympics is like the cherry on top. It's not the whole Sunday, because again, it's limiting, you know, and our domestic tour is so small, you know, and that needs to grow. We need to support that to grow. And I think like new ventures and competition make everything better. And that's what 1440 is here to do, to kind of create that. The world tour, God bless it, but they have the sport held hostage because they have the Olympic cards. So all the best in the world are just chasing Olympics every year for 4 years. So the system needs to break, and 2020 seems like the year where systems are breaking.
There's a lot of things that are broken.
I know. And but you know, and it's so enlightening. And so I think it's the job of the leadership, you know, not that you have to have an official title, but like, I'm a leader, you're a leader, like for the people who have lived every side of whatever, to be a solution person.
Right.
You know, to like offer up suggestions and to really put their heart behind to put some action behind their priorities. Yeah. And certainly that's what we're doing at P1440. And that's what I hope for the sport, because my life has been so beautiful. And it would be beautiful if I take away the Olympics and I just had the AVP where we had 18 tournaments a year back in the day. What a beautiful life. Yeah. And more than just the top 2 were making a living. Totally now agree. It's like the top 2 are, you know, if they're lucky.
Right. So this kind of adding on to this conversation, because I look at the men's beach game, and it's been evolving a lot rapidly over the last couple of years even. And so like the sport has obviously gone global. What I mean by that is some of the best teams in the world now are not American or Brazilian. Some of the best teams in the world are from Austria and from Norway, and guys that men's side that are reinventing the way beach volleyball is played. I'm curious what you've seen as some of the biggest changes if you're seeing those same types of changes on the women's side and what the game is evolving into.
Yeah, well, you know, it's interesting because the sport is so popular, the Olympics, and the federations are putting a lot more money. So those athletes, all those teams you just mentioned, are fully supported. Like they're fully funded. And that's a big difference, because in America, you know, and this is one of the most beautiful, we're not owned. Like, we're not chattel. We own ourselves, but with that, we have to hustle. And we have all that distress of, you know, not having money and living paid. They don't have that. So they have 12-month-a-year systems where they're fully serviced, you know, and that's beautiful. And you're seeing results from that, you know, and the sport is, and there's Brazilian coaches all over the world, you know, so the sport is leaving the home bases. And so it's just like, it's a merger of like the European point of view with regard to training combined with the Brazilian, combined with American, and iron sharpens iron, you know? And so, and Brazil, all the athletes, they're broke also. Their tour is down, you know? So America and Brazil, the hotspots of beach volleyball, are probably suffering the most in reality. Whereas everyone else is more supported and they have kind of feathered nests more. So, but the sport is awesome. Like the Norwegian boys, dude,
These
Dude,
guys are so cool to watch.
they're so and their hearts are so big and they're just
Yeah.
so innocent seeming and just they're awesome. They work their butts off and
Yeah.
they love it and they love life off the court too, which I think you can see, and their relationship is real and it's deep.
Yeah.
You know, and I love that. It reminds me, and I say this very humbly speaking and pretty naively, but they remind me of Misty and I.
Yeah.
You know, and they're just my favorite team to watch. And so it's so rad when you have like a team that stands out. It's so rad to have something to chase to and to look to. It's so inspiring, you know, and then you can just measure yourself against the best, and they're helping the sport, men and women, greatly. The sport is so physical right now. It's so gnarly. It's so fun. That's been the biggest change as far as the level of the game. Everyone's physical, whereas before it was kind of more shots and it was more kind of traditional, like, you know, I guess be a little bit more finesse. Now it's like balls to the wall 100% of the time. People are choosing serve now instead of receive because serve is such a weapon. Like it's fun. And that's a great equalizer, you know, the physicality. But that being said, the best of the best are the best teams, the teams that are scoring points on defense and that are just can outlast mentally, you know?
Yeah. What is it going to take for you and Brooke to qualify for Tokyo?
If we were today, we'd be in. So we just want to get better. And we had a really bad first year. Like last year was the first year of qualifying and we were terrible. Like we were like this, and we're still fifth in the Olympic ranking. We're the second American team. So that gives me a lot of solace. We're healthy now, which is huge. We just need to come together as a team. You know, Brooke and I want it so bad. And we almost, before COVID, we almost wanted it too much, where we were suffocating the dream, where we were playing in fear of not getting what we want with all our hearts. And that to me is going to be the biggest blessing of all this, is that now there's so much gratitude. There's so much hunger. As an older athlete, you know how powerful hunger is for the pursuit, for the grind. We have that now in spades. And to me, it's like, watch out. Like I am on fire. Brooke is so rad and so good. And if we get out of our own way, which we've been doing a lot of internal work, you know, within this pause, everyone's beatable.
Yeah.
Everyone is so beatable and they're so good, but they're so beatable. And I believe that there's an opportunity for the best team in the world. You have to be the team, you know, like the gold medal team for you guys. Like you guys were, I'm assuming you guys were like this, right? You weren't like this. Like you were like this, right?
When it came to go time, it was this.
Yeah.
You know, we weren't all the best friends, but it didn't matter that we weren't all best friends. But when it was go time, it was like this.
So there was trust. So there was a common vision, and you guys just made the commitment to stick together.
Right.
And that's huge. And it's what's interesting in beach is that you can see the fissures in the top teams when things get hard. You know, body language says a lot, and the reactions after a loss say a lot. And I watch all that, you know, and I feel all that. And that just kind of gets me excited because you know, we are physically speaking. Like we can always improve our craft. Like I want that 1% better in every skill set. But to me, the next level, whoever's going to win next is going to have that heart and that mental game that is just so gnarly and so connected as individuals and as a team. And Brooke we're so aligned with that vision because it's just clear as day, you know. It's like, I had so much fun playing with April Ross. So rad, so good. Like incredible, great human. We were like this. We were almost there, almost. And we just never were there. We just spoke different languages and, you know, nothing bad. We just were almost there. And Brooke and I have made it a priority to be all there because we see. And so that's what I'm excited to take from Rio, the heartbreak there where we lost because of me. Like I had a terrible performance and April stuck with me and she's so rad. But the heartbreak of not fighting for this is leading me to fight with Brookie, and it's going to make the difference, you know, but it's a lot of work and it's like nuanced work. It's work that you can't stat, you know, because it's like the inside job, which is gnarly. People think it's fluffy and a waste of time, but I'm like, that stuff is making me a Jedi and making every single kind of tool in my toolkit sharper and more accessible. So it's exciting.
Well, I think what a lot of people probably also don't realize about being at a gold medal caliber type of performance is that the margin is like razor thin. It might not even be something you can stat, to your point. It might even be just that this team's a little bit better at how they deal with adversity. So how do you stat that? You can't. Are they tight during the hard moments? You know, are they, you know, obviously there's a little bit of luck involved as well because the margins are so thin. I want to ask you that. I asked Reed Pretty this as well because so he won gold indoor and he won bronze indoor. But and my perspective is this is a very American thing that he will almost forever be known as gold medalist Reed Priddy, but rarely will people talk about the bronze. Yeah. And I've seen things with you where you've done interviews where it's always three-time gold medalist. And you're like, well, we won bronze as well, which was kind of a big deal. Give me your thoughts on just, because to me, it's like, whether it's fair or not, I feel like it's just the way it is. Particularly as Americans, we have this culture of just excellence and being American. Mm-hmm. And the gold medal is a measure of excellence. When people say you win bronze, I don't feel like that sentiment is as powerful, even though you grinded, you worked through. I mean, I even know, like, when you guys played in the bronze medal match, you were playing against the number one team in the world. They won the first set. You guys are down in the second set. There's probably a lot of you inside of you. And April is like, man, we really overcame a lot to even win that bronze, yet people kind of overlook it. I'm just curious at your thoughts there.
Well, yeah, it's so interesting. And it's total ignorance, like, period. And I can very easily say I was one of the ignorant ones before I won the bronze. Like, you know, I was just like, that's got to hurt your soul so bad to win bronze. And it's like, you underachieved. And to me now, knowing what I know, Ryan, like, utter devastation in your, like, it, and it's just, it's that, but it's also the shaking of your identity. For me, after we lost the semifinal match, like, I was rocked to the core of me, literally walking in circles, barely slept, like, feeling so sorry and ashamed. Like, the shame is the hardest part. So to come back and to, like, do it, holy hell. And it was rocky. The first game and a half, we're getting our butts kicked.
Yeah. You're playing against the best team in the world.
Yeah.
At that time.
For sure. No, April and I were the best team in the world. They were just the number one seed because they're Brazilian and they're amazing, but they weren't the number one team in the world. April and I were the number one team in the world.
I love that.
Shit. And it's so, excuse my language, it's so true. And it's just, but we both had a tough night the night before, and we were both rocked to our core. And for me, it's like, I wonder what's better, like, winning the silver or winning the bronze, because you lose to get the silver.
Yes, I ask people that all the time.
Yeah,
I mean, and most people, and I'd be curious of your thoughts on this. Most people obviously say, well, if I really think about it, of course I'm going to pick the silver. And I'm like, well, okay, you know, you've never been in that situation, first of all, so it's probably easier for you to make that decision. But for someone that's been in that situation, it's probably a more difficult conversation to have.
I think so. Yeah, it's so nuanced. I mean, on paper, obviously you want to win silver, but it's so much more than just on paper. For me, like, my goals are to win pool and to play on the last day. Yeah. And play in the final match. So if you don't, you know, if you make it to the final match, in a perfect world, and this is how it's felt in my experience, you're just pushing play because you cannot lose. Yeah. And we won. And I feel like that's part of the winning mindset when you get to the gold medal match. Like, literally, you can just leave it all out there, no stress. Not that there's not any, but it's just because you're going home with something. The bronze, you suffer devastation. If you lose, you get nothing. Right. And fourth place, we won that. We got fourth in Sydney.
Yeah, we got fourth place in Athens. So I know how you feel.
Yes, it's just, dang it. Like, it's so gnarly.
It's hard. Yeah.
It's hard, man. But it you know, it's just, you know what you've learned from all those losses, and it just, it drives you in one direction or another. It's like a reckoning period when you suffer those things. So I don't know, but I'm very proud of the bronze. I'm very proud, and I plan to utilize that as a tool, and I have already going to Tokyo. Yeah. You know, because I learned so much, and it hurt so much, and pain has been the biggest catalyst to change and growth in my life times a million. And so I'm determined, I'm devoted to turning that heartache into something powerful, and I can't lose because I've already learned and grown from it. So, you know, but Beautiful. I still want to win.
I love 100%. That. So, I want to have the GOAT conversation with you. Okay. So how important is that in your legacy? Because so not too many years ago, the default answer to who's the greatest of all time was kind of Karch. Sure. He's still the only person to ever win gold indoor and beach, which is pretty astronomical. I asked him, I had him on the show. I asked him, will anybody ever do that again? And he goes, yeah, someone will do it. And then what he said kind of blew my mind, because I'd never thought of this, because it's so astronomical. I don't even know how it could be accomplished. He said, what I want to see is someone win gold indoor and beach in the same Olympics. And I thought, wow, that is incredible. First of all, it would take a freak athlete, somebody that we haven't seen yet, in my perspective. But so a couple things I threw out at you there, because I'm at the point now where I look at your career, 5 Olympics, you're going, I mean, hopefully you're going to be going to 6. You're talking about even 7, which is, I don't even know. I can't even, my mind doesn't even know how to process that.
Mine either. First things first.
Yeah. Focus on getting to 6 and playing well in 6.
Yeah.
But to me, you have to be at the forefront of the conversation of the greatest of all time. When you hear somebody say that's been through the grind that you've been through, like, how important is that to you? Or is it not important at all?
Well, it's interesting. It's fun. Like, bottom line, it's not important. Like, okay. It's like, it makes me feel good. It's like awesome. Sure. If people don't put me in the conversation, they're just ignorant, and I say that it's hard for me to say that, but it's just true, and it's just, it's just true. Like stats, finishes, like long-term career, like all these things, like I check every box, right? And so it's just,
there's only been one other U.S. player that's ever played in 5, which is Danielle Scott.
Oh, she's right.
She's amazing. I had her on the show too, because 5 indoor to me is also mind-blowing because of what the indoor game does to someone's body. So able to be able to do that for that long is incredible.
Yeah.
Now you're going for 6, which you're absolutely right. If you weren't in that conversation, it's with someone that doesn't know anything about volleyball.
Or sports or anything.
Or sports or anything.
So I love it. And the more important title to me is I want to be the winningest.
Yeah. That's
like,
a good
I really
title.
do. I want to be the winningest in the Olympic forum, and I want to be the winningest ever, and that's just motivation. It's just really, who cares? But like, if I'm playing, I want to win.
Yeah.
And if I'm playing to win, I mean, might as well chase Karch. Not even, might as well pass Karch if I can. And that's, and I love Karchi. Like, he is so inspiring. He's been such a huge, by default, like, I just look to him a lot, and if I ever need to call him, he answers. He's rad. But I want to take out the arguable part because I win the most.
Yeah.
And
I personally feel like I was having this conversation with, I don't remember who else it was. It was somebody else. And I think the arguably part for me is already gone, for me at least, because of all of what you just talked about. It's not even just that, okay, you might not be the winningest, but like, your ability to do what you've done for so long, I think puts you at the top and you cancel out the arguable part. I feel like you're there. You go to 6 and I don't even know. I mean, hopefully, we're obviously rooting for you guys to do the best that you can. If you win another gold, then it's like, no question. I would even say if you guys medal, it's no question. So, and right now, I don't think it's a question either. So.
Attaboy. Yeah, I appreciate that very much. And speaking these things, like, it kind of makes me cringe. Like, don't be an a-hole. Don't like toot your own horn. I'm really not trying to. I'm
the one that brought up the question, so you're good.
I appreciate it. So when you say it, and when people say it, even if it's arguable, if it's like, no, she's a sidekick to these other people who are great. Like, I've heard everything, right?
Yeah.
And I've learned that the praise, it's not all true, and the criticism is not all true, and that's really helpful. But when I hear people who I just respect and who know, that I'm in that conversation, it's really, it's fire. Like, and I need fire in my life, like, when you're young, it's just there. You don't need to stoke it.
When you get old, it needs to be stoked.
You do, and it's because it's gnarly. It requires everything, body, mind, and spirit. And, my whole kind of perception of sacrifice, I now believe in it, because I'm like literally sacrificing 6 weeks at a time away from my family to pursue this dream. Total choice. I'm not a victim, but I never thought of anything as a sacrifice, because it was just, it was so purposeful to me, and it just, the rewards like outweighed everything. But now, that I'm a mommy to 3 amazing kids, and my husband I adore, like, it's hard on them.
Yeah.
And that's like the toughest part of all of it. So anyhow, like, if I'm playing to win. If, I got to qualify first. My goal is for Brooke and I to qualify as one of the top 4 teams in the world. We have a lot of work to do. We're workers. We're kind of blue collar, with white collar taste. And so we're really fired up for this
That's
ride.
Awesome.
Yeah.
My wife gave me a question to ask you, which I thought was a really good question, because I know you do a lot of interviews, you do a lot of podcast interviews, and you do a lot of TV interviews. You've been interviewed by a lot of people. What's a question that you wish people asked you more that maybe you don't get?
Oh, wow. I don't, jeez. Any new question really that makes me think, you know, like this has been a great conversation, and it's kind of the nuances within the conversation, you know,
Right.
like when you have someone who knows what I'm speaking to, we can kind of go down those rabbit holes a
Right.
little bit more and talk
Yep.
to the details. I did a conversation the other day, and first of all, words are so inadequate, and I'm such a terrible articulator. Like, I just feel like I only articulate the surface when there's like 10 layers of depth that I just
Yeah.
don't know how to express. But I had a conversation the other day, and it was all about the spiritual side of sport and my life. And these things that I live in every day, like I'm on this crazy spiritual like time in my life where I'm just getting so connected, and I'm like awakening to like the good and the evil in the world. And before it was only good. Like, so my whole concept of the world is just shaken the past couple months, seeing everything for what it is. But it's getting me closer to God and closer to myself, which is so beautiful. And so this conversation we had, it was so hard for me to articulate these, again, deep, nuanced, kind of ephemeral things that you can't stat, and that I can't point to science and data, but it's just this feeling inside of me. So I love the conversations on mindset, on God, on, you know, that side of life. But as far as a specific question, I like when people ask me about my kids and my husband, because I could talk about them all day long, and they're like my secret weapon to all this, you know. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. I thought it was a great question where you kind of turn the tables on, you know, I wish people would ask me more about this. And so I think you answered that beautifully.
I would have to think about that more, but yeah.
Okay. So
the game within the game, I guess, is most interesting to me.
Yeah. I think it's interesting for other people too. They want to know what it takes, and not even just physically, because you can't teach 6'2", you can't teach, you know what I mean? A lot of it, but you know, to be able to share some of the things that go on in a champion's mindset, I think is really important for people to understand, because it's different than normal people.
It is. And the consistency of it. And you know, it's so funny. Like, I've talked to a lot of companies and done a lot of keynote conversations, and the question part after, and I've gotten this a lot. It's like, okay, you say this, but what do you really think? And what do you really do? And I'm like,
no.
You think I just lied for an hour?
Yeah.
Like,
seriously.
literally, positive thinking and like having this mental framework is so powerful. Like, I'm not BSing. And it's interesting. People don't believe it. And it's the people who don't have a lot of self-accountability who never believe in it, because it's always something outside of them that they're looking to blame or to like be the secret weapon. It's like, no, you got that backwards.
That's exactly what we teach. And so I work for a consulting firm, and that's exactly what we teach. It's so much easier to externalize change on everyone or everything else versus anything that I need to be doing different, or anything that I need to be self-reflecting on. And that's just, it's almost human nature for people to go that route.
Yeah.
And,
well, it's inherently unstable. Like, if, you know, like if I have to rely on the sun to be out to have a good day, like first,
you're going to have a rough life.
In winter, I'm in trouble.
Exactly right. That's funny. Well said. So I want to go into like a little bit of like a rapid fire type of question and answer session right here. Okay.
Okay. I'm not great at these.
It's okay. You'll like these. They're really easy questions. The first one might be the toughest one for you, or maybe it won't be. I don't know. I put it in bold because I was curious at what you would respond here. So let's say you're in your prime. You get to pick your partner in their prime. Who are you going to pick, and who are you going to play against who's also in their prime, and where do you want to play the match?
Well, I would pick Misty.
Okay. That's what I thought.
Yeah. And I would love, well, this is going to sound so egotistical. I would love Misty and I of 08 to play Misty and I of 2012.
That would be really cool to watch.
Because 2012 was a mental and emotional battle. Like, the physicality was, you know, I had my babies, like Misty had Achilles, like it was all heart, was London. And to me, heart wins.
Yep.
So I would like to see that, and don't judge me for that.
No, I think that's a great answer. So you've been all around the world playing. Yeah. Where would you want to play? Where would you throw the court?
Jeez, what a good question. I mean, might as well have it Manhattan Beach, no?
Oh yeah. That's the Mecca, right?
Yeah. Well, I was going to say that, or like the US Open tennis stadium. Like, those tennis stadiums are so fun to play in.
Yeah.
But you got to go Manhattan Beach.
Okay. What are some things, or what is something that a lot of people don't know about you? Like, I do 3 things left-handed. I shoot
Oh,
pool left-handed, I shoot a gun left-handed, and I play the guitar left-handed. Only
wow.
those three things. That's it. Everything else I do right-handed.
Well, I bowl left-handed.
Oh, you do? That's interesting.
I started bowling when I was in college, and I had my shoulder was so bad,
Yeah,
so I
I
had to go
remember you had
exo.
shoulder problems, so you had to do some stuff left-handed.
Exactly. You know,
Wait, are you good? Like, what's your record
oh, I'm
left-handed
equally
bowling?
terrible.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I'm pretty ambidextrous with bowling, but I'm so terrible that it doesn't even matter, so it doesn't really count. But I impress myself sometimes when I get a strike when I'm lefty.
Yeah.
Something Ryan, I don't know what to say about that. I feel like I'm pretty much an open book.
Okay.
That, fear of failure drives me more than it should, maybe. And I say that because maybe there's some kids, listening. Like, I want to be driven by inspiration and by my potential, and less by fear of failure,
Right.
Or fear of being judged or any of that. But I live in that space a lot, and I'm trying to transform it. And I encourage everyone to operate from a place of potential and curiosity about that and what you're inspired by. It's so much more powerful, so much more sustainable.
Yeah.
But you got to live through the dark days to get to the light. And,
So you might have just answered this, so I'm going to take that one off the table. The question is, what's a trait you most dislike about yourself?
oh, God, these are so good. Well, fudge. I guess this also, I think, feeds into my success. Like, I'm pretty self-centered.
Okay.
Because I want to be excellent. And my
Yes.
working model, Ryan, is that if I am the best I can be as an individual, I can therefore be the best mom, the best wife, the best light in the world. But I spend a lot of time on myself to become that.
Yeah.
And that
I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that. I just had this conversation with my wife. So she's a PhD. She's very smart, bioengineering PhD. And she likes to have these deep conversations around what it takes to be a high performer. And I'm like, one thing that I've noticed is that people that are very successful, that perform at a high level over time, they're not just like one-hit wonders. They're like, they've done it over a career. They've got, and I don't know if these two things play together or there's something there. They're either in some ways there's a large level of narcissism. Mm-hmm. And I connect either, and I know a lot of people use that in a bad way, but I'm thinking of it more as these are people that are super highly confident in what they can do. And so a lot of the negativity they allow kind of roll off their back. Whereas a lot of people would take the negativity in and hold it and it would cripple them. Whereas the high performers over time are able to take the losses, take the failure, take the negativity and let it roll because they're so confident in what they can do. They move past it quickly and they get on to the next level of performance.
And they have purpose in what they're doing.
Totally.
And if it's purpose and love, then you can suffer all sorts of things.
Yeah.
The only reason I don't like the term narcissistic, and I don't even know the official definition, but it's just, I feel like there's so much manipulation of other people within the narcissism.
That's
and
a good point.
To me, the people who can sustain as high performers are very honest with themselves. In most cases, at least with regard to their craft. Maybe in life they're not. I have all sorts of blind spots for sure. But yeah.
Good. Okay, so how about let's flip it around. So what's a trait that you most dislike in others? Is anything like just really irk you?
Kind of what I just said, like the manipulators. Like it's kind of like, have you seen Frozen, right?
Yeah, of course.
It's right. It's the good-looking prince who's kind, who turns out to be evil. Like if you're gonna be a snake, be a snake. I cannot handle wolves in sheep's clothing. It's just, it hurts my soul. It's offensive to me. Yeah. To me, it's like, it's so weak and it's so disgusting and it's just, I don't know. It's hard. It's really hard in life to be you. Like, I know I have definitely different masks that I have, and it's more the pleaser in me. It's not like I'm trying to dupe anybody.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And the people who consciously dupe people and like who don't care about collateral damage, which I think we're seeing in the world today. People, when they use people as a means to an end, it makes me sick to my stomach.
This next one I'm curious about. So if you never got into volleyball, what would you be doing right now?
I mean, no doubt I'd be in sports.
Oh, you think you'd be in some other sport, athletic realm?
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Okay. Anything
Yeah.
in particular that you could see yourself doing?
No, I feel like I just would have found myself there.
Okay.
But I played basketball in high school.
Yep.
I played baseball for many, many years growing up. Obviously, I was never going to be in the major leagues. That was my first big dream.
Cool.
But no, I'm just a competitor, and I really appreciate the physical stress and understanding myself, like what I can go through and endure and how strong I become there. And then the mental and the emotional and all of that. Like, I feel like sports gives you all of that, the character building through that. Yeah, it suits the way I'm wired for sure.
I love that. So you get to, money's no object, dream vacation. Where are you going? What are you doing?
Oh, hell. Well, I got a couple spots, man.
Me
I have to
too.
pick one.
This is the top one.
And it's vacation. It's not to live.
Just vacation.
Well, I mean, my favorite place on earth outside. God, no, I can't. Right. I've traveled the world. I can't. Like, I have Stad come to mind to go on a vacation to Stad, Switzerland. It's my favorite tour stop on the world tour. That would be incredible in the winter, so I can see like the winter wonderland and stay at that. They have a new hotel. Oh my gosh, the Alpine. Oh my God, nicest hotel I've ever seen in my life. Just the driveway is the nicest I've ever seen.
Nice.
But Paris, I love. We're in escrow. We're not in escrow. We're the backup offer at a place here in Tahoe. But Tahoe, cool. Lake North Shore, Lake Tahoe is like the pinnacle to me. So I don't know.
Those are all good spots.
If I can do anything, like money's off the table.
You got whatever. It's your dream vacation.
Yeah, well, I would need my whole family there if it's part of
of course.
And I would need space, and we would need a lot of activity. I would say Stad. I would pick Stad.
There you go. Family. That's awesome.
It's pricey up there.
I'm sure. Nothing in Switzerland is very inexpensive. So, name a movie where you teared up. Maybe even the last movie. Well, I mean, nobody watches movies anymore, but I mean, at least not in theaters and stuff. But movie where you teared up.
Wait, these are all so hard. What did I watch most recently?
Or TV show.
No, we don't watch TV. Well, I guess I haven't watched anything recently, but like a scene came on, like a memory on Facebook or something came on a while ago. I got a notification. It's a Wonderful Life. It's my favorite movie. Yeah. I have two favorite movies. It's a Wonderful Life and True Romance. Those are my two favorites. But It's a Wonderful Life came up, and it was at the very end when he has the Angels quote, every time a bell rings, and it makes my eyes water every time. Mary and George and Zuzu's Petals. It's just the best movie.
I love it. Let's see here. So if you, one word that you would hope others use to describe you, what would it be?
Sincere.
Yeah.
I think.
That's a good one.
Kind. But I think sincerity is very, very powerful.
Yeah.
And you can, sincere.
Well, it combats your dislike of others that are in the wolf in sheep's clothing, right?
It really does, huh? Bruce Lee has a rad quote about sincerity, and I'll botch it, so I don't even try. But yeah, anything done in sincerity is inherently powerful, something like that. And then for your last question, I think I would have to say The Last Dance. I teared up constantly.
Oh, The Last Dance. So interesting. Oh,
like,
that was great.
Tear up words, like, put me in, coach. Like, I'm ready. Yeah. I appreciate Michael Jordan in a way I could never articulate. What a champion.
Yeah, that's so true. All right, well, you did it. You passed the test. It wasn't a test, but you passed.
It felt like it. It was not rapid fire. You need to rename it. Thank you, Ryan.
Kerri, I appreciate you taking the time. This is so awesome, and just digging in on some of these things, which I think a lot of people are going to really appreciate hearing. And wish you and Brooke all the best. Obviously, wish you and Casey and the family, everybody. You know how much love I have for you guys, and take care of yourselves during these crazy times. But this too shall pass at some point, and we'll be back to whatever the new normal looks like. So I wish you all the luck.
Well, let's make that new normal great.
Yeah, absolutely.
What I guess I'll leave with this, if that's okay. Like, I just,
please.
Within my career, on the court, off the court, what I ultimately want to do, I want to be a light, and I want to be one of the people who encourages people to chase their dreams and take responsibility for their lives. And with COVID and everything that's going down, you know, like, it's just so important that we all take responsibility for the way we show up. You know, like, I don't want to wait for, again, anything outside of myself to tell me I'm healthy. You know, I want to live a healthy life, and I want to be empowered to live a healthy life. When I'm chasing my dreams, I don't want, you know, outside encouragement to define how far and hard I go. I want it to come from within. And so that's what sport has given me. That's what interacting with, you know, amazing humans like you gives me. And everything I said today, it's part of my process. It doesn't mean it's right. It means, you know, these are things I'm working on and growing through. And it's just, life is so good, but you have to fight for it and you got to work for it. And if you start with yourself, then I believe, you know, we're all the one that we're waiting for. So it's a good life, but I appreciate your time, Ryan.
Take care. We'll see you around the block somewhere.
SoCal, huh?
Oh yeah. We're moving next month. We'll be down in San Diego. So
we could
excited.
Be 2 ships, you know, passing in the night.
And you're going to be going someplace else. So good luck with that too.
Yeah. And we'll see you. I can't wait.
Okay. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.